In April 2011, the Modelzone introduced a special edition Hornby East Coast Class 43 HST. 9 years on, I want to review how this HST would fare out versus the latest HSTs from Hornby. The results could be a bit of a surprise, so let's take a closer look. Hi, welcome to today's review. So the first thing we're going to do is an unboxing of the HST pack. We'll then do a detailed close-up view. We'll follow that with a running session with a summary then of the capabilities. We'll finish off with an overall scoring and recommendation. Okay, let's get underway. Hi, welcome to today's review. So we are looking at this East Coast Trains HST pack, which was a Modelzone exclusive. This was introduced in 2011. In April 2011, these actually became available through the Modelzone channels, along with the Mark III coaches, which actually match this particular set. So this is it's a nine-year vintage at this stage. So one of the reasons I wanted to look at this was one, I do like the livery and I do like the HSTs. And it's interesting to compare this to the current batch of HSTs that are out there selling today. So let's just take a look at the part number we're looking at here. So it's the R2964 East Coast Trains Class 43 HST, which comes 8-pin DCC ready, as you would get your normal HSTs. So let's open this up. This, as I say, was a deal between Hornby and Modelzone at the time. They were the largest model retailer in the UK at the time, and they did have exclusives like this, and which was one of the benefits that they had. So this is probably one of their last before they did run into trouble. So let's open this guy up and we'll take a look inside. And I suppose it's pretty well similar packaging to the normal sort of HST packaging. So we've got them out of the box, and I think the first comment I would make is this looks a really good livery. Model has a really good feel to it, in keeping with the latest batches of HSTs. So this is of the same quality, if not even in some cases it might be a little bit better. It's really good livery. I'll do a side-on view and a 360 view afterwards, but even straight off the bat, there's nice bogey detail there. The vents here that are on all the HSTs, which rendered very well. Interesting on this model, and I'll show it later on, the fans, two roof fans here, actually they run. They're connected to the motor, so when you drive the motor they actually get driven. So that's one of the added features of this particular model. And the other added feature of this model, and again we'll see it during the running session, is the coach lighting, or the cab lighting I should say. So there's lighting in both the power car and the dummy car. It has the directional lighting, of course, that you'd normally expect, but it also has the cab lighting in there as well, which is again a unique feature. It has the doors that open up. You're familiar with that from if you've got a super detailed HST. It's got the metal handrails on the side there, metal handrail at the back there. Again, that's in keeping with the kind of super detailed models. Really nice paint job on the side, nice registration of the East Coast logo at the time. And this is locomotive 43300. Now, interestingly enough, this was one of the first locomotives which literally only a matter of months after this was launched, this locomotive was repainted in the all grey East Coast livery, which is actually quite a dull livery, and this is I much prefer this particular livery, but this particular locomotive in the real world was I say repainted not long after the introduction of this particular set, this model set. And I know it's probably a bit disappointing for anybody who purchased the set, but I don't think I'd be disappointed by the actual locomotive itself, which looks really good. So this looks, I would say, it's on a par, if as good as any of the other HSTs I have. It's got the weight, so I expect it's going to be a nice runner. It's got the nice little rivets in the wheels there. All the detail I'd expect, so it's going to come down to running performance as to how good this guy is. I'll just take a look at the dummy car as well. So take this guy out. And again, it's identical level of quality. Obviously a lot lighter than the other car, and but has all the same level of outer detail. And as I say, it does have the same lighting as well, and it does include a DCC socket. You can probably just kind of see through the grill effect there, which is quite nice. You can see through it. These aren't motorized, obviously. There's no motor driving this car, so there's nothing to drive the fans in this particular one, so they won't be driven. But apart from that, it's identical to its powered companion, and it looks really good. Okay, so I think first view of these out of the box is very positive, and we're going to take a side-on view now, and then we'll do a close-up 360 view, and then we'll get into a running session. I will be installing the standard TTS decoders, the two decoders, one in the main car, one in the dummy car, so we'll get the dual sound effect of that on the running session. Okay, let's go to the next part of the review. So now we're going to take a close-up view of the HST car, and you can see the good underbody detail there, the very nice grills, handrails, a lot of very good roof detail on this particular model. Really nice paint registration there with the East Coast logo, done very well. It's nice chimneys up top, and again continued detail on the roof through the model. Good bogie detail, the nice handrails again around the front cab area, some very nice glazing. All in all, a really nice looking HST model. Now we're doing a quick 360 view just to give you a view around the model and what it kind of looks like overall. And again, there's nothing I can say here that it's really just adding to the overall effect. Very impressed with this model from the minute I took it out of the box, and I think it is a very good looking model. The coaches for this are in the same livery, so those Mark III coaches were available through the Modelzone at the time. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those. They are very difficult to come by. It would certainly be nice to have a full rake to go with this. That would really make a very nice train. So hopefully this gives you a good feel for this model. It's a good looking HST, well executed, lots of good detail, a lot of good roof detail, good bogie detail, and overall really good looking model. So now we're going to get into the running session, and we're running with TTS sound installed in both the power car and the dummy car, and it's the standard TTS. So good sound effects here. I have put in a iPhone speaker here, so that's what I'm actually running with. So the sound is probably a little bit better than your standard off-the-shelf speaker. So we'll just go with a couple of startup sounds here, and then we'll get underway. Now, as I mentioned, I don't have the Mark III coaches that actually go with this, so I am using a rake of Mark III Pretendolino coaches. They come with a nice grey body, which more or less kind of matches the set. I would have liked to have had the actual Mark III coaches, the East Coast Mark III coaches, the originals, but it's very, very difficult to find those, even at a price, and when you do find them, you do have to pay for them quite a bit. So we're going to go and start off kind of slowly here, just to kind of give you an idea of how well performing this is at low speed. This is a really, really good runner. On DC, impeccable running, and similarly on TTS under DCC, really good runner as well. And you know, I would actually say this is as good, if not better, than the current stock of HSTs from Hornby. Dare I say it, and I have a couple of them. So this is really, really good. Very well executed. Has the added coach lighting, as I mentioned. I am running with the actual fans running in the roof, I didn't disconnect them. Now that was actually subsequently a mistake because they do put a load on the motor, and unfortunately I do like to run my HSTs pretty fast, so there is a point in this running session, it's edited out, but I actually blew the TTS controller in the power car, and that was really the effect of running it very fast and the fact that it was overloaded. These coaches, Pretendolino coaches, aren't as smooth as the latest coaches from Hornby, so they don't run as smoothly, and as a result they put a greater load on the overall locomotive. So combine that with the load of the fans and the high speed that I actually notched this up to, and I obviously overheated the decoder and blew it. So we'll continue. We do have a reasonable running session even with that, and hopefully this gives you a feel for the performance of the locomotive. We're kind of running at a mid-speed now, and it's just a shame, I think, if you had a full DCC decoder, or running it under DC of course, you wouldn't have this issue. The TTS decoders are a little bit underpowered in terms of their current limits, and they do overheat and they do blow up. Not very dramatically, but just your train stops basically, and it doesn't work again. So we're going to run through it here, and we'll notch this up to the top speed in a couple of minutes, and that will kind of give you a really good feel for what the top speed is like with this locomotive. It has that extra gear which I really love on the HSTs, and here we are, which is tremendous speed, and this guy has easily the equivalent of any of the HSTs I have, the modern ones, and performed impeccably. I didn't have any problems with this from a running perspective, with the exception of actually blowing the decoder, and that was my fault. So a really excellent runner for a 9-year-old locomotive. It's kind of hard to believe. So really good performance. We'll slow it down now again, and that'll give you another idea. Actually, when I was shooting this at one stage, I had the speed notched down to about the equivalent of 2 miles an hour, and the locomotive slowly made its way around the circuit, really slow, without a hitch, and that just said to me, this is really good. So well done, Hornby. This was truly a special edition, and a really good running session. Just sorry I don't have a few more shots for you, but as I said, I blew the decoder in mid-session, so that kind of put a end to this running session a bit earlier than I had planned. Okay, now let's take a summary. We've been reviewing the Hornby R2964 East Coast Trains Class 43 HST, and this was a Modelzone exclusive, launched in April of 2011. It's got power and dummy cars in the East Coast Trains livery, locomotives 43-300 and 43-310, and it is 8-pin DCC ready in both cars. The extra features: the directional lighting, the operating cab doors, the cab lighting, and the working roof fans, and you'll see those just in the picture there. And these are tied directly to the motor, so the speed of the fans is directly linked to the speed of the motor. You can actually disconnect these, and I think if you're going to run under TTS, that would recommend you doing that. I didn't do that during my running session, and it was part of the reason I blew my TTS decoder. Locomotives is fine. Keeping the roof fan connected, that wouldn't be an issue if you're running under full DC or DCC. Just with TTS, there is a lower power capability in those decoders, so you can blow them if you're not careful. The weight of the power car is 530 grams and dummy car 185 grams. Slightly heavier than the current HSTs, but more or less in the same weight bracket. It's an Era 10 locomotive, so it's in essentially a modern era. The second-hand selling price is in that kind of 239, 259 range for a good box condition version of this. You will get it cheaper than that, unboxed, for example, or in a lesser condition, and that's as of June 2020. So let's take a look at the scoring. So performance-wise, this is actually better than the current crop of HSTs. I think the low-speed performance on this is superior. Certainly the model that I had, running under DC or DCC. And in the case of DCC, I did have this running at a really slow speed with the full rake connected, and it did it without a hitch. There was no jerkiness in the motion, very smooth. It was like having a backman class 37 or something like that, pulling the coaches. So really good performance, and I have to give it a 5-star. And it does have the fantastic high-speed kick that you get with the HSTs. It just has that extra gear to give you that prototypical 125 miles an hour, and it has that as well. Just unfortunate the trouble I had with the TTS decoder, and that's just an issue with TTS, so I'm not going to take any marks off the locomotive. If I was running under DC, I wouldn't have had that problem. For the appearance, I'm giving it a 4.5-star, and I think overall this is a very good job in terms of the appearance. So I think a good score there. Sound I'm not rating because I'm not. This doesn't come as standard. This comes DCC ready. The extra features, say there's a good few of those, so hence there's a 4-star for that. Packaging is fine, and the overall is a 4.5-star, which is the same rating I would have give to the current crop of HSTs, but I think this actually steals it a little bit on a couple of those extras and the performance, so it is actually slightly better, but a 4.5-star overall. A couple of little niggles with it. Obviously trying to get the matching coaches is a challenge, a bit fiddly to put back together, so if you're installing a DCC or TTS decoder, it's a little bit fiddly to put the units back together. I just don't know why the manufacturers make it like this. They really do need to make it a little bit easier for people to open and close their models. You may have issues with the lighting after you reconnect, and you have to open it up again and try to fix that. So that's just a little bit messy. But otherwise, a really good looking model. A top-notch runner, as I said. A couple of little extras over the standard HSTs that you have today. If you like the fans, that's great. Just be wary about the TTS issue. And overall, though, very, very good. The only reason I'm not making it a highly recommended is because of that issue with the rolling stock. This is quite challenging to get that rolling stock, and if you do find it, it's usually pretty expensive. You'll be spending maybe £50 per coach. So that's going to make any sort of rake for it pretty expensive. So if you do get a good offer on coaches, then really I would say go for it. As I said, I did mix this with the Pretendolino coaches. They look fine, you know, that it's not prototypical, but it's fine nevertheless. You could run with something like that. But the coaches are nice, so it would be great if you could get them. And unfortunately, that's just it's probably harder to get the coaches actually than this HST pack. Okay, so that's it. That's my review of the 2964, the Modelzone exclusive. I think this was a really good set. It kind of gives you an example of the sort of specials that you got from the Modelzone when they were in business. It's kind of sad to see a big player like that go out of business, but this was a top quality model from Hornby at the time that they commissioned. And I think if you can get hold of one of these, you won't be disappointed. It might be a good option if you want to do a repaint, perhaps, to one of the more modern liveries. This might actually be a great basis for that if you can pick it up at the right price and the right condition. So hope you enjoyed this video. I found this a really enjoyable locomotive to run, apart from the TTS issue that I had, but that was my problem. I'll take responsibility for that. So this was good. I think if you can pick one of these up, you won't be disappointed. And if not, hope this was interesting anyway, just to show you the quality of HST that Hornby were producing 9 years ago. And it pretty well is the same quality as what they have today. Okay, thanks for joining today's review. Hopefully see you on the next one. And in the meantime, happy modeling.